Hello and happy Friday, and thanks for tuning into RadioFreeRhinecliff.org and this show in particular. Correct me if I'm Norm. I'm your host, Norm. I'm thrilled to be here tonight with my co-host, Allison Chawla, which is a first. I've never had a co-host.
I'm so honored.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much for saying yes. And another first, we have a nonstop parade of guests coming through tonight.
Which is going to be a blast.
Yeah.
An exhausting blast, but a blast.
What's that? An exhausting
And you've
blast.
been kind enough to supply the eggnog for us. Which is
Eggnog
also,
for everybody.
Thank
There's
you, Norm.
rum and bourbon, or you could do what I'm doing and have a little bit of both.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I didn't
sure.
realize you mixed that up.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a couple of guests here right now, the best guests ever.
Highly agree with that comment. Right here to my right is the person, the creator, the creative artistic brilliance behind Sinterklass Parade, which has become the greatest and most anticipated festival in Rhinebeck, New York. And then next to Gene, we have Mayor Gary Bassett of Rhinebeck.
Hello.
Amazing. So, Gene, will you tell us a little bit about Sinterklass? I mean, it's more than the parade. There's a whole day, right?
Oh, yes. There's a whole day. There's been a few days, actually. Lots and lots of people have been coming and making their crowns and branches for the weekend already.
And what's the idea of crowns and branches?
Well, the idea with that is that it has to do with turning the tradition of, in a way, Christmas upside down, the judgment of the children instead of a celebration of them. So instead of them being judged, we took the switches that they used to be kind of beaten with in the Middle Ages and turned them into their royal scepters.
The Middle Ages up till 1964, which is the last time I got the switch behind the shed.
Now you're thinking about it, telling me about it.
Okay, can I just say, I didn't know that. That is the most beautiful thing, that you
yeah.
sort of repurposed and changed the narrative about this object.
Absolutely. That was the idea, was to just kind of change what it's really about. I mean, to really get down to what it's about. What it's about is the children. That's what this time of year is about. It's about the rebirth of the year. It's the wish for spring to come, for the winter to end. But it happens with the birth of a child.
Right.
So whether that child is your child or the baby Jesus, it's a child.
Right.
That's what's happening.
Or a child into your community.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what amazing community you have built around this. And Allison is a part of it.
Yes.
You were an official Sinterklass doer and maker.
Yes. I
big
mean,
deal.
to use the word honored again, Gene took me on, has been teaching me and training me and doing the best that I can to become a part of this incredible festival.
And what kind of role?
Well, I've tried, I've sort of been learning to do everything. So I've done this, I've tried very hard with fundraising, food, organizing, just kind of a little bit of anything that Jean has needed me to do. And then she's been kind enough to call me a spiritual director of the event.
Oh, I love that.
Yes, I do too. It feels like another true blessing. But for me, it's been sort of learning the ropes and doing, whatever needs to get done.
But I happen to know you're also in divinity school.
Correct.
So it's kind of lovely that you're in divinity school. Now you're a spiritual director of this wonderfully spiritual thing.
Indeed.
And Gary Bassett is the mayor.
Hey, hello.
How's Sinterklass? It must be such a pain in the ass for the village as well.
I wouldn't call it that.
You wouldn't, of
I
course
would not call it that.
Well, you probably have more filters than I do.
It's a wonderful event that we get to host here in the village of Rhinebeck. Where else could you do something like this than in the village of Rhinebeck, where we can shut down the roads and create an atmosphere for the entertainment and the celebrations and, really, as Jean mentioned, to honor the children. So, but there's really, two events happening here. There's this wonderful artistic event that Jean is putting on and her staff that is just phenomenal. And then there's the event behind the event, which is what we don't talk about a lot. And that's all of the security measures and everything that goes into, because what we care about is this Jean's event and your all event comes in, happens seamlessly, and everybody enjoys it, and they get to go home safely. And that's what we care about.
Get to go home safely, the key word. Now, do you hire on a lot of extra security? Are they all wearing uniforms?
Nope. We do hire on. Yes, first part. Yes, we hire a lot of security.
Okay.
We have lots of different forms of security in, and no, they do not all have uniforms.
Okay. And you block off a couple of blocks of Market Street.
We create a perimeter around this whole event.
Okay.
I would be hard pressed for a vehicle to get inside of this event.
Right.
Anytime once we have that perimeter set up. So.
And I've seen you got the huge concrete jersey strips or whatever blocking traffic from.
Yeah. We use all sorts of stuff from backhoes to dump trucks to steel barricades to water barriers to you name it, we have it, and it's all to create a safe space.
Right.
And that's what it's about.
People see it, they probably don't think about it, but it makes them feel more safe seeing all of that stuff there.
How we want them to enjoy the day.
Right.
That's what we want. We want everybody to enjoy this fantastic thing that's happening here.
And is it good for business?
I think it depends on the business. Wouldn't you say, Gene? Some of the businesses do well. I mean, what they do at 4:00 is they kind of quiesce down, and people go to the restaurants or go whatever. And then there's the build up. Drum roll, please. The build up to the parade.
Right.
And then the village just comes alive.
Right. Mm-hmm. It definitely feeds the soul of the village, this wonderful festival.
It is. It's great.
And Jean, how did you brought this to Rhinebeck? Is that correct?
Yes.
How did that happen?
Oh, my dear. It was many, many years ago. It was actually over 40 years ago that I first created Sinterklaas for this town. It was called Old Dutch Christmas in Rhinebeck in those days. And the way it happened is that people came to me from the village and said, the Rhinebeck Crafts Fair is no longer happening in the village. Everyone's going to forget about Rhinebeck. At that time, I was doing the Statue of Liberty celebration for New York City. So people were kind of aware that, I was doing things. And they asked me to come and make something for the village that would bring people back to Rhinebeck, that would kind of keep Rhinebeck on the map. And so I began a very elaborate process of what I would call charrettes, where I was bringing the community together. I brought together children, families, all the churches, the schools, all the businesses, the government, everyone together. And really, everyone created it together. I would ask questions. I would say, well, when should it be? And everyone got to vote. And then what should it be? What should it be about? How, that kind of thing. And everyone got to vote. And at the end of the night, I went home with a big sheet of paper that said, a holiday event for children based on the Dutch heritage. And I went home, and in one of those kind of rare moments, I started researching, and I came across Sinterklaas, and there it was. But it was problematical. It had a lot of problems about it that I didn't really love. For example, the judgment of the children. I really didn't love that part. I didn't really love the Black Peters. So I just changed it. I just rewrote the story and made a new story that would work for the town and that kind of included everyone. Work with the history of the area. It had a lot of elements of Sinterklaas in it so that it did relate to the Dutch history, but it was really an original creation just for this village.
Which I love so much. I just want to ask you, you were inspired by this thing, and you got rid of a lot of stuff that you didn't like, and a lot of which was problematic. People keep bringing up sort of the things that you jettisoned.
Absolutely.
What the heck?
Oh, that's part of the fun, isn't it? If you don't have critics, you're not doing something meaningful.
Right. If you're not being spoken about, you're doing something wrong. But I think it's wonderful that you are sharing, Jean, how much of it you did change, because people come here and they watch it and they enjoy it and they leave. But to hear the amount of effort and creativity that you put in it to make it something that was more acceptable in modern times, that did
it's
respect people more.
It's not a matter of acceptable. It had nothing to do with acceptable. Actually, I'm not certain that it was acceptable. I think it has to do more with being responsible at every single level, from today spending time talking to disabled people about how they're going to get to the area that they need to get to. It's being responsible on every level and thinking it through, how it will work for every person. I think that's really so much of what it's really about. I mean, the thing that I always say is magic isn't something that happens magically. Magic is work. Magic is focus. And so I think that paying attention to the details, paying attention to the kinds of things that Gary's working on, trying to work within whatever the present day is, where people are, what people are thinking about. I think that's part of what makes it fresh for me and also makes it relevant.
Right. And you've got a massive amount of people working behind the scenes to create this magic, right?
Indeed.
How many people?
Well, last year, the pilot actually asked me to count up how many people it took to do Sinterklass. It was 942 people. That was astonishing to me.
Oh, my God.
I didn't realize that. Yeah, 942 people to make it happen behind the scenes.
And I said to somebody the other day, one of your superpowers is drawing people in. You're like, hey, you standing there, come here. You're in charge of this now. Do that, bend that, paint this.
It actually has to do with listening. I don't think it's really drawing them in. I think what it is you hear someone on a street corner and they're saying things like, oh, I just love to work with pom-poms and glittery things. And then you go to them and you say, I have this thing that needs to be made. So it's really about finding people where they are and allowing them to do what they love to do, more than it about me asking them to do something I want them to do. And you are a perfect example of that, I must say, as Sinterklaas comes into the modern AI age. I think that Norm, you and Jen Breslin have just done an extraordinary amount of work on what interested you, what was extraordinary for you, what was special for you. And doing that thing that you loved made it possible for all of us to have experiences that we could have never have imagined.
Right. But, Jen Breslin asked me, and to my point, you have surrounded yourself also with people who are very persuasive. Like, hey, you, and however they're persuasive, they see what your interest is, and they draw on that and say, maybe you'd like to do that for the benefit of Sinterklaas. And it's not just you; everybody are in your circle. And I saw a lot of them today out at your place. Very, very good at saying, "You over there, I think you want to do this."
Yes.
And then people say yes,
they
over
say
and over.
Yes, because of the ideas.
Right.
They say yes because of the essential spirit of it. I think that's why. I think people enjoy being a part of something that's larger than themselves, and they could possibly, in some small world, change the world. I mean, that's what this is about this year. It's about working together. It's about hope, really. I've come to understand that the whole event this year is about hope. The people who are working on this event are people who are hopeful. They're people who haven't given up. They're not living in division. They're living and working together to try to make the world a better place.
I would imagine for all the things you do, you're surrounded with people who feel that way.
Yes, I think that's one of the things that really struck me. It's kind of funny. I mean, the problem is I always tell long stories, but one of the inspirations for this was immediately, it's very funny, but people make puns on ants. It's funny. It happens immediately. God. Everyone does it. And of course, my first thought was Dante. Dante.
Oh, jeez.
And I thought, well, draw inspiration from Dante.
Yeah.
And then I went on the internet, of course, and I kind of not remembering my reading of the Divine Comedy as a medieval studies major. I went on the internet, and of course the quote from Dante that everyone knows is, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here." And I realized, no, that's not what happens at Sinterklaas. The people who are part of Sinterklaas are people who aren't abandoning hope. They're the ones who are working no matter what, against everything, the state of the world, to make the world a better place, to have hope. And as I was working around that and thinking about this, suddenly in the middle of the night, and I do all my best work when I'm asleep, and I suddenly realized, no, it's not Dante, it's Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. It's the Little Prince. And so I looked that up, and of course the quote there is, to have hope, to create, all of those who make things are the ones who understand the beauty of the world and who have hope and give hope to humanity. And so I myself went from Dante to Antoine.
Applauding. That was such a great answer. Wow. Gary, how many people come to, Gene talking about how many people are behind the scenes, how many people are going to be in front of the scenes tomorrow, would you expect?
You mean at the actual event throughout the day? So, it varies year to year as what we've had last year. The weather was not so great in the first part, but maybe kept things down. But it was about 8,000 to 9,000 people last year. But we eclipsed bigger numbers pre-pandemic, and then it kind of went down, and now it's crescenting again and coming back up, which is great.
Right, it's probably heavily weather dependent.
Absolutely. There was years we had to clear the snow off the sidewalks so that we could have the sidewalks be safe. Because we had 2 feet of snow prior to the storm.
Not only cleared the snow off the sidewalk, but was the only village in the entire Catskill area, the whole Hudson Valley, that did a good job of it.
Here's Gary.
It's our staff, that does it. But it's all about, again, it's safety for people.
Right.
You can't have these huge snowbanks and have, 10,000 people trying to watch a parade event, and the children, you want to have the children out front, to be greeted by Sinterklass or the Grumpus or whatever, because it's about having the children there to be able to enjoy what's happening. So we want to be able to be part of that to make that happen.
Right.
And that is something that I've noticed every year, which is wonderful. People comply and cooperate and allow kids to go to the front, even if they've arrived late, even if their families are in the back. I mean, it's really marvelous to see that level of respect.
Yeah, it's so good. Listen, we got a bunch of guests coming.
Oh, indeed.
I want to tell you all that there's eggnog here.
Here they are.
Yeah.
Here are some of the
we've got
people.
more coming after that.
Yeah. And this person who's just shown up has been working with me for 50 years.
50 years.
Longer than most marriages.
Anyway, there's glasses out there, and there's ice, and there's eggnog here, if you want.
And then the other person who I see is waiting here is the person, I have to say, the genius, and though Norm, I think you shared it this year, of painting the most extraordinary and funny and charming and utterly wonderful paintings that go on all the trees. And they're inspiring for me.
They're so good.
Probably at the moments when I'm most working the heaviest and the worst, suddenly here arrives Steve Miller's painting. It's like I've been waiting for it all year, and it's every bit as good as I expect.
Not only a creative, phenomenal Sinterklass art, but also a Grumpus this year.
Oh,
and
indeed.
he's come in to talk to us tonight about Grumpusing.
Oh, here.
Yeah.
Grumpus all over the place.
Oh, no. Yeah. Well, we'll
The Grumpus are, that's one of the things that I changed in the story, from the Black Peters. The Grumpuses they fulfill that role, but they're Candymen. They're a different kind of character.
Right.
And that was one of the major things that I changed when I remade the story.
Right. When it's so good. And this guy, Steve Miller, I got to witness him, because I'm also a Grumpus, handing candy out to the kids, and he kneels in front of them, I don't know if you saw this, and offers them the candy. And it's the most beautiful embodiment of the spirit that you just described of Sinterklaas.
That's just, though, when the candy amount needs to be slowed way down. But it is so funny. That was one of a weird thing that just happened spontaneously, and it was so much fun because it totally surprised the kids. That somebody came up to them, and rather than being thrown candy from a truck, it was like an offering, like you're saying, because they're the kings and the queens for the day.
Right.
So it should be a Neil.
But there are 20 Grumpuses, and every one of them is different. And my husband's trick with the kids is to offer them the candy and then take it back.
Oh, that's good. I like that. I'm going to try that out.
I love that. Yeah. I think I'm going to do that this year. I'll be the bad Grumpus to Steve's good Grumpus.
The idea is to cover it all, to make a big enough circle that everyone in the circle is contributing something. From being positive to being negative to being everything. You make a circle, you bring everybody in.
Right.
And then you hope that circle becomes the community.
Right.
And it works.
Oh, it works over and over again. It's such a beautiful, beautiful day. And I'm surprised to hear you say there were 20 Grumpuses, because we had Grumpus rehearsal the other night. It seemed there were 50, all of them with 2 left feet. They rehearse these songs and these dances, and they're not professional dancers. I'm not, anyway.
Half of us were drunk.
Nothing about
Most of us are.
the beauty about Sinterklaas is that none of it's professional, and I think that's one of the things I'm going to talk about in the opening ceremony. I'm talking about, there's reality TV, and then there's reality theater, and then there's reality, which is, I think, what we're going to be in.
So where will the opening ceremony be? What
at
time?
The Open Arms.
Okay.
At noon, and I think that Mr. Bassett will come and
I'll be there.
offer an opening, a welcome to the
village.
Yeah,
and welcome to the event and the magic.
Actually, it's a bigger role this year. You, like Dubai, are hosting a major conference. We are not having an ant hill. We are having an ant summit.
There you go.
There you go.
And Rhinebeck, or Porcupine Peck as we call it, is the host city for this summit.
And we're looking forward to having all of those ants. Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Steve.
And the aunties.
Aunts and aunties.
Aunts and aunties.
Aunts and aunties. And Joanna, you've been working on this for. You've been working with Jean for 50 years.
The older version, Old Dutch Christmas, was, when did we do that? 84?
Yeah, 83, 84, yeah.
And what did that look like?
One of the wonderful things
It was
about
really
was, right,
fabulous.
in those days, you could carry live torches, and the firemen actually carried the live torches through the small streets of the village.
Oh, the Grumpus.
And a live horse.
Horse
led the
Space
parade.
Odyssey.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe Kurthoys just called me the other day and reminded me of Michael Langto and his horse Space Odyssey. It was wonderful.
When I was thinking about what to add to this conversation, I was thinking, the new wonderful ants don't know about the journey we used to take from Spain to Amsterdam to Holland across the mighty Hudson. So Sinterklass used to start in Kingston the week before as Spain, because that's where Sinterklass summered. And
sounds pretty good place to summer.
And then he motored on to Rhinecliff, to the docks here in Rhinecliff.
Sinterklass, you say he, like a person who sort of embodied
Sinterklass.
St. Nicholas.
St. Nicholas.
One of the things I love about Sinterklass is everybody can change the story.
Right.
And this is a new wrinkle on the story. I didn't know that St. Nicholas summered in Spain.
No. I love that. And speaking of story, one of the stories that I saw on your site, and it's so cool, is this ant's journey. What's going on with that?
Well, I mean, the person who should speak about that is Jen. Is she here?
Oh, she is.
Behind you.
Well, I tell you, this is a moment of absolute genius, and Allison perhaps applied the word brilliant to me, but I apply the word brilliant to Jen.
And that's
Well done.
That's Jennifer Breslin, who's standing right behind you.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you tell us, Jennifer, about the ant's journey?
So the ant's journey is a series of spyglasses that are set throughout the village.
Wait, what's a spyglass?
It's like a 5.5-inch plastic dome
Okay.
that magnifies a little ant world.
So it's a half a sphere. It's clear plastic.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And in which is the scene. And the ant's journey has a series of scenes of our little Sinterklaas star ant who's trying to find her colony. So she starts at a historical marker that Norm created. Yes.
You.
Do you have anything to say about that?
You,
No.
Norm.
Okay. Along the way, she encounters 20 different kinds of ant species. And then in the end, hopefully she finds her star colony. But you'll have to do the scavenger hunt to find that out.
And so they're scattered in store windows and restaurant windows throughout the village.
Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry. I'm not used to radio. I'm nodding. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
There are about 23 spyglasses for the ant's journey, and then about 20 other spyglasses and dioramas that show ants engaged in other activities.
And so people can try and find them all. How will they know if they found them all?
So we have a handy guide, a checklist, that doesn't tell you where they are, but it shows you all of the different spyglasses and then has a list of the shops that have them. So we give a little bit of hints there.
And the QR code. I mean, this is part of, what Jen has brought to us this year, which is Sinterklaas going AI, ant intelligence. And so when
I knew that's what it stood for.
That's what it stood for. Did you know
I
that?
did know that.
Yeah, because intelligence is spies, right?
Yeah,
but
sure.
it's also brilliant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you look at each one of them has a little QR code, and you can go and learn about that particular ant.
Nice.
Online.
And how many different species of ants are represented in this thing?
20 through the ant's journey. And there's the QR code we have that at the Ask Me Ladies tables along with some printouts of the sheet. So you can go and grab a printout or download the
Ask Me Ladies?
Now we have to talk about the Ask Me Ladies.
Yeah.
They're such...
Allison's going to fill us in.
The Ask Me Ladies are such an essential part of the day, and sometimes I think they're overlooked, but they are so important and so sensational. So, I mean, Jen, if you want to sort of pitch in a bit more about the Ask Me Ladies.
I think
Dorna's here.
Dorna.
Our queen Ask Me Lady has arrived. Dorna, who's also one of the most tender people to work with, by the way, and is doing so much for Crowns and Branches. But Dorna, just first off, tell us a bit more about the Ask Me Ladies, please.
Well, the Ask Me Ladies are there for information, engagement, and we also sell a number of items because Sinterklaas isn't free, and we help to raise money by selling the Sinterklaas stars. We have the Sinterklaas flags, and then we make headbands. The Ask Me Ladies have been making headbands since August, and they're beautifully decorated headbands with flowers and leaves and ants and antennae. We have about 100 of them. And we also have the amazing puppets, ant puppets this year, and we have about 80 of those to sell. So we have a location on the Beekman Arms lawn and in front of the CVS. We also have programs there. And what I love about being an Ask Me Lady is that we have so many children that have been coming over the years, and they start bringing their own costumes, making their own costumes, and they come to us to show off their new costume. And we like to take pictures. Yes, we take pictures and put it on social media. We're also the lost and found, and the, oh my gosh, I lost my child, I lost my parents. So we engage a lot with the public, and we have a lot of fun. We provide information as well.
Right. Now, you said Sinterklaas isn't free, but I mean, people come, they don't have to pay anything to be there.
No.
But they can buy these things to help support the cost of staging this.
Yes,
festival.
absolutely.
Right. That's great.
And we have about 24 Ask Me Ladies who volunteer in different ways. Some will be there on tomorrow. Some work behind the scenes in various different ways.
I love that. And somebody just handed me the Sinterklaas program here. It's like a magazine. It's so gorgeous. And there's a whole thing about our honored animal, romancing the ant, the Children's Starlight Parade, and the pageant. What is the Children's Starlight Parade? Who can address that?
Well, I guess, most people come, for the parade and the pageant afterwards, which tells the story of Sinterklaas and many different things. I just got the most marvelous email the other day from Father Richard from the Episcopal Church for the last I think, 15 years, he's been reading The Blessing of the Ant, which a friend of mine, Gigi Alvarez, channels. And Father Richard comes and reads that blessing and makes the sound of the ant. It's a beautiful thing. But it's a wonderful pageant in which that's the moment when, when you do a ritual, there comes to a moment when the ritual is complete. And it is in the pageant when the ritual becomes complete. And the moment when the ritual becomes complete is when all the adults who have gotten the Sinterklaas stars, it is a fundraising tool, but more than that, it really was something that was inspired by Yael Romer, who's the rabbi of Temple Emmanuel in Kingston and lives here in Rhinebeck. And it's the moment when all of the adults bow down to the children, the kings and queens, and they hold the star at their waist level. And all of a sudden, the children in the community are the tallest in the community, and they're in a sea of stars. And then we cheer the children.
When does this happen? I want to see this.
This happens at the pageant. And then we ask everyone to stand up and hold the stars over their heads. And for that brief moment, the whole community is under this canopy of stars, united in its spirit and its love of the children. And that's when the ceremony is complete, when everyone raises their stars above their head. And to me, I always feel like, the stars that guide the shepherds, that guide them to the baby Jesus, that some of these stars are those stars, and that they're kind of looking down on us. And a really beautiful thing is this year, the Reformed Church, Dutch Reformed Church, is bringing back the Living Nativity, which is something very special to me that we started when I first started Sinterklaas many years ago.
All right, let me ask about the stars.
Okay.
Because that sounds, as an artist, I was just melting listening to you talk about that. And as an artist, that you must melt. I mean, you're a celebration artist, which is a wonderful thing. When that happens, what do you feel? I mean,
it's killer.
I'll bet.
The whole thing is killer. I mean, walking along with Sinterklaas, seeing him talk to the children, the eyes, the way that they look at him. This parade is accessible. It's different. Other parades are big and you can't touch it. But everything in this parade is designed to be touched, and so is Sinterklaas. And that moment, when we do that star ceremony, I remember when we first did it, everybody said to me, nobody will ever do that. Nobody will ever bow down to the kids. And I can remember when they did. And then the biggest moment for me is at the end of the night when we sing the Dona Nobis Pacem, and the peace dove comes, which has all of the wishes from the adults. The children put wishes in their branches, but the adults put wishes in the peace dove, and it's just filled with their wishes for the world. And the peace dove makes its rounds among everyone, and everyone can touch it. And we sing the Dona Nobis Pacem, and that's the way that the celebration ends. And the boy who's doing it now has been doing it since he was 7 years old, and he's now 23. I think,
wow!
Right? Yeah.
Jean? Is this your masterpiece?
What do you mean?
Well, you're an artist. I mean, some artists and critics are like, "Oh, that's Van Gogh's masterpiece," or "This is Raphael's masterpiece." Is Sinterklaas, or do you think about that way at all? Did this question take you by surprise?
Yeah. I think because it's from my community.
Right.
That in a weird way it is.
Yeah, it feels like it would be. It's so amazing and so beautiful. And you came on this show and spoke to me about a year ago or so. And when you left, I was like, you are my favorite artist of all time. Because it was so beautiful, the things that you create. And so on behalf of everybody, thank you.
And there's so many beautiful moments that happen during the day. And one of the things, again, that I love about being an Ask Me Lady is that we get to see them sometimes. For instance, a couple of years ago when the children were given strings and they were asked to share the strings amongst, when they would go out and go up to a stranger, a little girl went up to one of the police officers and asked him if she could give him one of the bracelets. And his first response was a little uncertain, but then he looked down at her and he went down to her level and said, absolutely. And she took it off her arm, her wrist, and tied it onto his wrist. And it was so beautiful.
Right.
Those are the moments that really stand out.
And these are the moments you know about. And for everyone you know about, there's probably 100 or 500 that you never hear about. Thank
I
you,
also
Dorna.
want to share about Crowns and Branches. I don't know if you've already
Joanna.
talked about that, but last year's moment, there were two children who were now teenagers, and the little girl, the young woman, said to me, "Oh, we keep my branches every year, and it's our Christmas tree." And they just add lights to every branch she's done. And the young man said, "I've been making crowns since I was 6 years old." He was a junior in high school, and they're around the perimeter of his bedroom.
I love that.
And his mom promised that she would not take them down when he goes to college.
Right.
It's like,
That's so beautiful.
So sweet.
So
Now,
beautiful.
I get a question for the guy behind you, Joanna, is Steve Miller, who grew up around here. Were you aware of Sinterklaas when you were growing up in Poughkeepsie?
No.
No.
And I think the first time we attended was, let me think, it was probably when my daughter was about 4 or 5, so maybe 15 years ago, I guess. But I remember the days when he came across, Sinterklaas came across on the boat, or St. Nicholas, and it was really great. And there was the first one I went to did have the live horse, and I actually knew the horse riders, so it was kind of cool. But anyway, that whole spirit of that night, where it's just magical, it's here. It's been here every year since. When did it start, Gene?
Oh,
I know you said-
I created it like over 40 years ago, but then
Right.
there was a hiatus when I couldn't do it, and then we brought it back in 2008.
Oh, okay.
This is the 17th year in this incarnation.
Yeah. By the way, happy Sinter's Eve, everybody. It's getting it's getting pretty
Down to the
Sintery up
wire.
in here for
She
sure.
is feeling very Sintery in here.
Your daughter came with your wife. Your daughter Tess used to come to help make crowns.
Yeah.
Early on, and then she became the painter of many of the placards that you'll see around
I
town.
wait every year for Tess's
We
painting.
wait for it, but this
So
year we were a
sweet.
little disappointed.
Well, she's at school, so
College took over.
yeah, good
so-
old college.
And we also have visitors. Well, visitors come from all over, multiple states. We've got Delaware, Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, but we have
Vermont,
had
New
visitors.
Hampshire.
Yes, we have had
Maine.
visitors from Holland. They have
nice.
learned about our Sinterklaas, and they came a couple of years. It was 2 couples that came a couple of years pre-pandemic, and they looked forward to it. They said our Sinterklaas celebration was far superior than anything they had ever seen over in their home country. And
I'll
they
bet.
look forward to coming back every year.
I'm sure they've got talent over there, but like Gene Fleming
very
does
different.
the Greenwich Village Halloween parade. I mean, you're a real expert.
Well,
at-
there's Sinterklaas parties all around the village.
That's
And
true.
This
This is a very
Think about
interesting
it.
thing.
Yes.
This year, I've learned about a lot of them. There are a lot of people have parties, and then they come to Sinterklaas. And actually, one of those parties is interesting because my friend Kambi Shankdar, there's an extraordinary person coming to Sinterklaas this year. A MacArthur genius, head of the Ant Lab at Rockefeller University.
Only one MacArthur genius?
Is coming. And no, actually there are 2. His best friend, who's head of a different vaccine program at Rockefeller University, is too. Gabrielle Victoria, and Daniel Cronauer is coming to be a part of the opening ceremony. He's going to be here all day, and he's an extraordinary individual. And the way that I found him was I was doing a lot of research. I've read like 15 books on ants. I know more about ants than you could ever imagine. And I came across him on the internet, and the thing that attracted me to him was that he had posted something about Santa. I thought, this guy has a sense of humor. We might be able to work with him. And my friend Cambyse, who's head of AIDS research at Rockefeller University, also has a sense of humor. And so I asked Cambyse to write a letter to Daniel to ask him if he would come and be a part of Sinterklass.
Daniel Cronauer.
Daniel Cronauer.
Okay.
And much to my astonishment, he immediately wrote to me. And one of the beautiful things that he did when he came, and I think some of you were there that day, when he came to visit us, was he looked over. I had made about 30 ant puppets at that point, and they were all in the couch, sticking into the couch. And I wanted him to see that we were serious. We were serious about ants, and that he should really be involved with us because we're serious
like
people,
this.
Right? We have all these ants.
For people listening on the radio, Jean just got her business face on.
And we had this lunch, and I spoke to him, and about the seriousness of this event and how it was important that he come to it. And I knew that we had him when just before he walked out the door, he walked in the room. Oh, not to mention, he wants the Barbie ant of all the ants. He chose the Barbie ant. But anyway, he goes into the room and he says, the thing that distinguishes an ant from all other insects is the shape of their antenna. And then he went around the room and he changed the shape of every antenna so that they were correct.
Oh, I love that.
Before he left. And I thought, this is our guy.
Yeah.
And he's coming to Sinterklaas.
Winner the nuptials.
He will be.
For those listening on the radio, Jean Fleming just blushed.
Oh, I've really gotten in trouble. I did stalk him. I found out that he had a house up here. And the minute I found out that he had a house up here, I knew I had him. But it was really Cambyse who helped. And the reason I mention this is because Cambyse throws one of those parties up here. But anyway, he's a marvelous soul, and he's coming, and he's going to play a major role, though he doesn't know it yet, in the opening ceremony.
And what's his role going to be?
He's a judge.
Oh, good.
Because you see, this year, Sinterklaas is about science fiction.
Oh, nice. Nice. I love that. And we talked about sort of the fiction of this ant's journey. And now here's the scientist. Are you giving him any special award or anything like that?
Of course.
Oh, and what might that be?
You have to come.
Oh, come on. You're messing up my segue because I know the person behind you designed sort of an award thing.
Oh, well, there's several awards.
Oh, no. All right, good.
I'm not spilling the beans if she's not.
Yeah. No spoiler alert. But what is the thing that you were involved in?
In addition to the ant's journey.
Yeah.
With you, I worked on creating the museums, the Museum of Antiquities and Arts, which is sort of the equivalent of the Met, which has antiquities through art through the 1800s, which is in winter, sun, summer, moon. And then across the street in Rhinebeck Mercantile is the equivalent of MoMA, which is the Museum of Modern Ant. Which has modern and contemporary artists, including how many local artists did we get in the end?
17 or
17 local artists.
Rhinebeck artists.
Yeah. So that's pretty exciting.
All right. Well, that was great. I was really asking you about the Cronauer sort of thing that you had made, but now we're here. Oh. How did these museums come to pass?
Well, initially they started out as little tiny cigar boxes that you would open and have a few pictures in. And now it's like a 6-foot dollhouse with like 5 levels for the Met one. And then
the Met, the Museum of Antiquities.
The Museum of Antiquities.
And Art.
And then the Museum of Modern Ants, about 4 levels. And so the art is a combination of AI generated images. So say an ant in the style of Botticelli or ant in the style of Vermeer.
Or Man Ray for the MoMA.
Right,
Yeah.
For the MoMA, yes. Or Van Gogh. Other ones are digitally edited. So we've put little ant body parts into existing paintings and so on. And then in the case of some of the local artists, we took some of their existing pieces and put little ants within them or stuck them on. Or there's a number of sculptures where they were their original pieces and they were interpretations of ants.
Really?
Yes. So,
such as?
Hi again.
Hi, that's Steve Miller.
Welcome back,
now.
Steve.
Thank you, Jennifer Breslin.
I guess you wanted me to
Oh, sure.
hold the microphone.
Did you do something? It's in the
I don't
Museum
know.
of Modern
Was there a
Art?
segue there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
my aunt.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it was
yeah.
a good one till you.
Yeah.
So you dropped the ball, Steve.
My aunt is after Yayoi Kusama, who did those incredible pieces that were recently at the Whitney, and it's great for me because my daughter loves her work, so it was really nice to be able to put something in the Museum of Modern Art that she would appreciate too. Yeah, it was fun, really fun.
Yeah. And what did you make?
Well, I made a little ant that is orange and has black and white polka dots, like a Kusama. So yeah, it was more of a science fiction type creature.
Right. And Gary?
Yeah, I just would like to make a request to Gene, if we could, that I think there's one more ant that I think you would understand this as well. The Sergeant.
Oh, nice.
Yes, how about the Sergeant?
Thank you.
Well
we
played.
should.
Very good. We should recognize the sergeant.
And the-
He's done.
And the Sergeant at
Indeed.
6 Arms.
Yes, Pete. Yes.
Yes.
Who is Pete?
Pete is my officer in charge for the Village of Rhinebeck Police,
Okay.
who works 24/7. And if you knew Pete, if we took his hat off, you'd say he pulled his hair out.
Right.
And Pete would understand that as well.
Yeah.
But
No.
he takes this event seriously in terms of how safety is secured, and that's why I think a sergeant.
Sergeant,
is-
you are
is-
correct about that, and I'm happy you pointed that out. And Pete is a wonderful person who has grown with this event and has a tremendous amount of responsibility. I say in New York City that I co-produce the Halloween parade with the NYPD.
Oh, right.
I co-produce this event with the Village, with Pete Dunn. It's not easy these days in this world that we live in to do events like this, especially in a small village.
Right.
It takes tremendous focus and concentration. And to me, everything that Pete Dunn does creates magic.
Right.
Because it's focus and concentration and care and respect that makes everything happen at the very base of, before you have a foolish, silly idea of a dancing ant. If you don't have Pete Dunn, if you don't have a mayor that's behind you, forget it.
If you don't got Pete Dunn, you got nothing. Sorry, the eggnog's taking effect. But it's all
Well, Daniel Cronauer also.
yeah, all in service of the magic, which is here to serve the children. We're delighted to have one of the children here right now. Hello, this is Indy Chawla. Why don't you introduce her?
This is Indy Chawla. This is my daughter, my older daughter.
Do you know her well?
I thought I knew her well, and now tweening has started. But I feel like we're going to get through it, and she's a remarkable young lady. So, yes, I know her well. And she has been coming to Sinterklaas since we began weekending up here about 12 years ago. And just from the very first time we saw it, we had her on our shoulders, and she was just completely blown away and enchanted. So I think that she is... I don't want to speak for her, but seems to be very excited about being a part of it now. Indy, what do you think?
Yeah.
Have you ever met Jean in person? You did meet Jean before.
I think in passing.
I think we came to your house once and you gave her an ant to design with her sister. But Indy, what's it like for you as someone who watched it for years?
Well, it's a different experience, like watching it than being in it, because I like being in it because you're part of the whole process and you're making everybody have this magical experience that only happens once a year. Mm-hmm. So,
and what is it? What is the role that you are playing in the parade?
I'm playing a little Dutch girl.
And what is it that you do as a Dutch girl?
I like blow confetti at people.
which is offered as which is supposed to be snow and is offered as a blessing for the people that are watching the parade.
Yeah.
And what do you feel is your favorite part of the parade as you're walking down?
I like seeing the faces of friends when they like see that I'm in the parade, because they're always so surprised, and it's like they start screaming my name, and it makes me feel like famous or something.
An honored aunt.
Absolutely. And, we were speaking earlier about how there are all of these moments that happen on their own. And it's something that Jean actually, has written on the site, that she leaves room for things to occur, for creativity to keep unfolding and occurring on its own throughout the entire day, throughout the parade. And, being with my daughters last year, walking with them and watching the friends' faces light up, or, just the adults, the teachers in the area that know them, seeing familiar volunteers and faces come down the street, was some of those remarkable moments that we were talking about earlier. Because this is something that really brings the community together, to work together, to spend time together. And I'm just so thrilled that kids are a part of it. Not only are the children are honored, but that, Jean invites them to walk in the parade.
It's spectacular. And how many kids do you reckon are sort of in the parade? And some of them are like holding puppets, some of them being little Dutch girls. And
there's so many. I don't know exactly how many there are actually in the parade, but lots and lots of families volunteer to carry giant puppets and things like that.
Right.
And this year, one of the fun things is the walking bus is going to be in the parade.
The walking what?
The walking bus.
You tell.
The walking bus has become something that Angela Basile created, who's also a Sinterklaas volunteer. And as someone who's been trying to bring more eco-friendly, green, and just, environmentally responsible approaches to functioning in life, Angela created this thing called the walking bus. And it started that once a year, she made this beautiful front of a bus made out of cardboard that children walk with. And it ended up becoming, the entire school system was walking behind this beautiful little cardboard bus. And now we do it multiple times a year. And because it's become such a huge part of the community, Angela asked Jean if she would like to add it to the parade. And it's going to be in the parade this year.
Love that. Now, is the parade filmed? I mean, can people see this on YouTube later if they can't be here in person?
Not in an official way, no. I think people come and do it, but it's on their own.
Right.
So.
Because it's such a phenomenal event. And people who can't be here, and we have millions of listeners abroad who really can't be here for this. So I wanted to ask Dorna.
We keep saying the word volunteer.
Yeah.
And there are hundreds of volunteers that do different tasks, not just on the day of or a couple days before, but weeks and months before. We began working, I guess, last March and meeting and starting to work on the ant puppets and all the other little fun behind the scenes, as well as projects that people see that make Sinterklaas happen. And it's a magical thing. It really brings and creates a beautiful community here. It's
a magical thing to be part of the community who's making that stuff.
It is. And I also want to add that, because a lot of this is behind the scenes that people don't see. And Dorna mentioned that it started in March. And another thing that Jean does that I feel like keeps us all together as a community, as we are volunteering, and, nobody's getting paid for this. This is just out of, hope and passion, that Jean kind of has us gather once a month or once every couple of months to keep the creative energy going, to keep the relationships together, and just really to have fun together.
Right.
Which is, for me, was one of my favorite parts, by the way.
Right. Well, it's a spectacular gift to the community from everybody gathered here tonight. So we're running out of time. I just want to take the last few minutes to ask everybody, starting with Indy.
Indy, where'd you go?
What their favorite part of Sinterklaas is, because there are so many parts of it. Hi, Indy. Thanks for coming back. What's your favorite part?
What's your favorite part?
I don't know. There's a lot.
All right, good. Well, we'll move around. We're going to come back to you.
Oh, okay.
So think more. Now Dorna's going to go.
I think the smiles. I have never seen a frown on Sinterklaas Day. I see joy, happiness, and bright smiles.
Well, I feel sorry for everybody who needs to follow that answer. Joanna Hess? Yeah, no dittos.
I love the day. I know the parade is magical, incredible. There's thousands of people who come, but the day,
right.
Every church has live music. There's street performers. Every corner you turn, there's just people, and they are just smiling and greeting you.
There are dozens and dozens and dozens of activities happening. Where can people find out about all that?
The program book is online as well as physically available at the Ask Me booth.
What's the URL?
Sinterklasshudsonvalley.com.
Thank you, Joanna Hess. Steve Miller, what's your favorite part of Sinterklaas?
Favorite Grumpusy part is you and I shared last year when we were at the top of the hill, just coming out from Star Library, and we were just pausing for the start of the parade. And you see all the stars in front of you, and the moon came out between the clouds, full moon, and lit that spectacular home.
Right.
That's I forget. I don't know the name of it, but it's
the Adams family house.
One of the great houses in Rhinebeck. But we looked down from that vantage point and just saw the town before us and all the people in front of us in the parade. It was just spectacular. It was
I just got
magical.
Goosebumps. That was
really magical.
So spectacular. Jennifer Breslin.
So I also love the day and the music. And that drumming group and the brass bands are phenomenal.
So good.
Yeah. And then seeing the final puppets of the honored animal. So that's really fun because sometimes we work on them. And then to see them in their final state and lit in the parade is pretty exciting.
Right. All right. Before we continue with everybody's favorite part, I want to ask Jean, how do you decide what the animal is going to be? Laughter from the peanut gallery.
It's Sinter Magic, Norm.
Yeah.
Sinter Magic, says Steve Miller.
That's a good answer.
Oh, you can't stick with that. He can. He's a Grumpus.
It has to do with what's going on in the world, what the zeitgeist is.
Right.
It just has to do with sort of feeling the energy. And this year it felt like what really needed to happen was to look at a creature that works cooperatively, works in community, where service beyond self.
Right.
Where it's about giving to the community and everyone trying to work together.
All right.
In a divided world.
Another beautiful, beautiful answer
and
from my favorite artist.
wrote The Little Prince during a time of war.
Oh,
and
right.
We're
Interesting.
in a time of war right now, and we're in a time of great division. And it struck me that the ant could teach us something.
Right.
And that actually is the reason why the animal is chosen. What can the animal teach us? The animal is the spiritual part of Sinterklaas.
Love that so much. All right, 1 minute left. Gary Bassett, Mayor, what's your favorite part of Sinterklaas?
Don't take this wrong, but at the end.
Bless you for your public service, sir. Allison Chawla?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I love everything about it. But I would say my favorite thing is that working, I hand out buttons as Mother Holly all day and give away this snowflake blessing, but seeing every age of life and different, every type of individual comes to me. I have little children with these huge smiles jumping up and down with enthusiasm, and then I have senior citizens with hats that have all of the animal buttons on their head, and they're asking for extra to pin it on, and just seeing this huge spectrum of individuals coming to see it over and over again.
So good. And to take us out, Indy Chawla, tell us, what's your favorite part of Sinterklaas?
My favorite part is the dancing polar bear.
All right. Very good.
My favorite part has been this. Thank you all for being here. It's been spectacular. And everybody have a wonderful Friday and a great weekend. And I hope to see everybody tomorrow for Sinterklaas in Rhinebeck.
And the ants go marching one by one, hurrah, hurrah. And the ants go marching one by one, hurrah, hurrah.
Beautiful.